So this problem will be solved with orifice, with flow control valve. Okay, this we already seen. Now there is fire water network. Just imagine that you have got, say you are working in a refinery, right? Or project is in refinery, wherein you have got the storage tank for say petrol, right? And from the storage tank through the pump, petrol pump, you are sending that petrol to the road tanker. So that's the system. And you have got say six, say for example, six pumps you have got in the pump house area, right? If any fire incident happens, so that fire will be extinguished using say fire water, correct? And that fire water will come from fire water supply pumps, right? And on it will come in the in the pump house. It will be sprayed from the sprinkler or spray nozzles. So you must have seen the spray nozzles in the plant, right? So there is one uh, such example is available. Let me just make it a little bigger. Okay, so the right side area, what you see. So in this space, which is say 2 meter by 12 meter. Okay, 2 meter is the width and 12 meter is the length of that pump house, wherein our petrol pumps are located. Okay. The protected area is pump house, petrol pump house. The total area is 2 into say 12, so 24 meters square. So this is the area we need to protect. So fire water requirement now is, so there is NFPA 13. That what we are actually trying to do here is to calculate the fire water demand. It is one of the most important calculation in safety studies, right? Fire water demand calculation. And good thing is it's very easy. The standard what we use is NFPA 1313. So you need to first calculate what is the total area that you need to protect. Okay, step 1, which we have done, 24 meters square. Step 2 is to get the fire water requirement norm. Now there are two numbers associated with it. If it is hazardous like petrol, then the number would be 20 liter per minute per meter square, right, for the hazardous services. If it is non-hazardous, then it will be 10 LPM per meter square, right? So these numbers either we can take it from NFPA 13, or in most operating companies, they will have these numbers given for this particular system. You need to use this fire water requirement norm. So let us go ahead with 20 liter per minute per meter square, meaning per meter square, you need to provide 20 liter per minute of water. Then if you multiply this 20 LPM per meter square multiplied by 24, so meter square will get cancelled, and you'll get 480 LPM water requirement, right, which is 29 meter cube per hour. So again, as per NFPA 13 guideline, you have to take 20% excess. So 1.2 times 28.8 is 35 meter cube per hour. Meaning, when there is fire in this pump house, you have to supply 35 meter cube per hour of water, right? So let us assume that you have only say 2 sprinklers, right? So total flow you are providing 35 to this pump house, right? But is it evenly distributed? No, because only the north side of the pump house will get maximum water and south side will be dry. So if I keep only 2 sprinklers on the top, on the north side, it is not going to work. If I give 4 sprinklers, so 1, 2, and on the south side also 1 and 2. So maybe on the periphery, we will get water supplied, but in the middle, we will not have any water. Clear? So we have to make sure that the sprinklers are arranged in a such a way that each and every square inch of the area to be protected gets water. So what we do, yeah. So if you see this, The sprinklers will be arranged in this way. So typically the distance between two sprinklers is never more than 2 meters, right? And the vendor will tell that what is the coverage, spray coverage, and you have to make sure that each sprinkler, this coverage area will be overlapped, correct? It will be something like this. So this is a spray angle and this is a spray coverage. And the the next spray coverage area will be always overlapping with the first one. So this will ensure that each and every square inch of the area will be getting water in case of fire, right? So typically what will be this piping will do, that it will prepare the top view of this area. Okay, so there will be a lot of circles and all the circles will be overlapping with each other, right? And the circle diameter will be getting from the vendor. Okay, so, the sprinkler vendor. So vendor will tell that if you give minimum say 1.5 bar gauge pressure at the inlet, then I can assure that the spray area, coverage area would be, let's say 3 meter or 4 meters, whatever, right? So taking that information from vendor, piping will create a diagram, the top view, and it is our job to approve that, right? So once that gets approved, then we'll prepare our model. Now in this case, what I have done, this sprinkler to this sprinkler, the total distance is 1 plus 1, okay, 2 meters. Now this T and this junction, the distance is 2 meters, right? So meaning this sprinkler to this sprinkler also, the distance is 2 meters. So every sprinkler is distributed with a distance of 2 meters each, right? And if you see the rest of the system, it involves the fire water tank. There is fire water supply pump, one running, one shut down, right? And that goes to the header, right? Now this example is available. If you go to solved examples in the from the presentation, there is a sprinkler system, right? So let me just open that file. This example we are not going to do from scratch. We're just going to review it. All right. So let's start with the tank. So tank is having say 2 meters elevation, stagnation pressure, right? There is this suction pipe, 2 meter 4 inch. So why I selected 4 inch? Because the velocity is coming 1.3, which is not bad. Then the pump. So for pump also I provided this test fire water, right, with some data from the vendor. Then the pump discharge pipe I had taken 3 inch, inlet is 4 inch, outlet is 3 inch, and there is this deluge valve. So typically what happens, let us say this pump capacity is something like how much, 35 meter cube per hour, that is the duty flow. But do you think it is really required to keep this pump running? These are the main pumps. It is not really required to keep the main pumps running all the time. So in fire water system, there is something called jockey pump. Jockey pump are typically like the 10% of the main pump capacity. So if the main pump is 35 meter cube per hour for the same differential head, so for the same differential head, jockey pump will be about say 3.5 meter cube per hour. Again, there will be standby and the main jockey pump. So only one jockey pump will be running, and its job would be, when there is no fire, this valve is called as deluge valve. Okay, this is automatic on-off valve. When there is fire, FNG system will send a signal to this valve, this deluge valve, and this valve will get open, right? When there is no fire, this valve is closed. Do you really think that we need to run this 35 meter cube per hour pump? No. So that time the main pump will be no, it will not be working. It will be off, and a single jockey pump will be working, and of course there will be minimum recycle line, and it will try to maintain some pressure in the pump discharge header. Let us say that pressure is, say, I'm just putting a number, say 5 bar gauge, right? So just imagine the small pump, 3.5 meter cube per hour jockey pump is working. This release valve is closed, and the system is able to generate a pressure of 5 bar gauge. Okay. Now suddenly there is fire in this petrol pump house. Then the signal from FNG will go to this deluge valve, right? And in that case, what will happen? All the water which is there will try to go to the pump house, right? So what happens to the pressure? It was before 5 bar gauge. The pressure will reduce. So from 5 bar gauge, it will go to say 5.8, then 5.5. So maybe 5.5 is the set point for the main pump to start, right? So the main pump is big pump. It is already designed accordingly to maintain certain pressure and the flow rate to give to the system. So the main pump gets activated, and when main pump is active, jockey pump doesn't have to work. So it will get tripped. It will get switched off, right? So main pump is working. Deluge valve is open, so it will give the required amount of water to each and every sprinkler, right? And when there is no fire, then the operator will give signal to close this deluge valve, and this valve will be more. Normally this auto off is not given for the deluge valve, so manually this valve will be closed by field operator, right? So here, if you see the elevation of this is 3 meters. See, so this also 3 meter. These junctions 3 meter elevation. This also 3 meter elevation, right? All the sprinklers are 3 meter elevation, right? Meaning this entire thing is on the top, just below the roof. Okay, and the roof is about 3 meter height. Then, if you click on the one of the sprinklers, so there are different models available for the sprinkler. Like the one which you have taken here is having K is equal to 2.8. K factor means this shows the capacity of the sprinkler nozzle. If I have K say 4.2, right? Meaning for the same pressure drop, this sprinkler will give more flow. So what is the flow rate we want through each of the sprinklers? We want 2.9 meter cube per hour. Means slightly on a higher side. 2.91 is okay, 2.95 is okay, 3.1 is also okay. But if I use the bigger size or capacity sprinkler, and the flow rate is say 10 meter cube per hour, right? So will that be acceptable? No, right? Because you want 2.9. If you are having 10, that means 10 into 12 sprinklers. So how much? 120 meter cube per hour. So meaning you need to go for a bigger pump, right? Yes. Right now this 35 meter cube is working well, but now in the other case you'll have to go several times more than that. Not just the pump, but the pipe sizes for the suction and the discharge, that will also be affected, right? Because of this, we have to always optimize, right? Optimize on the sprinkler K factor. So this number will actually be given by the vendor, right? So vendor has in their catalog, so they will say that the minimum pressure upstream of the sprinkler should be some value. So in most cases it will be 1.5 bar gauge. Meaning if you want say 2.9 meter cube per hour water to be sprayed with some some reasonable coverage area, then you must have 1.5 bar gauge upstream pressure. Just imagine you got only 0.1 bar gauge upstream of the sprinkler. Do you think that water flow will be there? The flow rate what we want 2.9. It will be flow will be there, of course. There will be pressure differential, so flow will be there, but it will be 0.1 meter cube per hour, which is not acceptable, right? So that is the reason upstream of this. That is again one of the objectives of carrying out this study, that you have to ensure that if I using this pump model, then what is the maximum pressure that will be available upstream of this the sprinkler. So here, if you see the number, it is about 1.7 bar. I'll just change the unit. Pressure, not pressure, yeah, pressure drop also you can take it. Bar and decimal, I'll make it say 2. Then click OK. So 1.7 to 2 bar is upstream. If the vendor has said that it takes 1.5 bar gauge minimum, then this is acceptable, right? If you are getting something like say 1.2 bar gauge upstream of the sprinkler, then we have to go for a bigger capacity pump. Flow rate will be same, but the head would be bigger. So maybe the higher impeller size we need to go for, right? So this kind of information you can take it out from FluidFlow software. And now there is one software, I said PipeNet Sprinkler is there. That does only this kind of steady state analysis, right? That cost for 6 months is something like 13 lakh rupees. 13 lakh divided by 75. So about 17,000 USD, Mr. Mark. And that is only applicable for only for 6 months, right? So that kind of study you can do it in FluidFlow with 3 to 4 lakh rupees perpetual, right? So that way it is very extremely cheap software. Okay, any query on this?
Sir, does FluidFlow can do surge calculation?
No, that they cannot do. The last is 2 years before when we started, we had told the developer that this is the biggest disadvantage of FluidFlow because this competitor PipeNet, it can do surge analysis. So they have got PipeNet transient software. So that time the developer had said it will be available in next 6 months. So that now 2 years have passed and they are working on the transient. But at some point it has to come.
Excuse sir, maybe because of time we may not have the time to develop it. Have you used the software to solve the problem? You can share the file now.
Which software?
This very problem, this sprinkler problem.
See, whatever we have studied, it is available in this folder. Session 9, FluidFlow.
Okay.
So there is a folder here. Solved examples from the presentation. So we have covered up to this. So we'll take one more example, PSV sizing. Then we'll stop FluidFlow and we'll talk something else, right? So let us close this.
Okay.
I have one more question.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, you have shared in the material the PipeNet videos, right, for working in the PipeNet?
Yes, yes.
In that, have you shared surge analysis, sir? Have you done any surge analysis in that?
We are expert in the market for surge analysis. We actually recently completed a project for Qatar Gas. We did the Qatar Gas entire fire water network simulation, and they had got a lot of pipe failure issues for their GRP pipe. We modeled it and we have suggested them some remedies that to go for the surge accumulator or surge vessel. And once they implement that in the next shutdown, so their frequent pipe breakage thing will go away. At present, I don't have the software because, as I said, it's very expensive and only 6 months duration license that costs something like 12 lakh rupees, something like say 16,000 USD, only for 6 months duration. So as and when the project comes, then we rent it.
All right, but renting it will be cheaper now, isn't it?
Sorry?
Sir,
to rent it will be cheaper.
Rent it means we get this license from Sunrise. That's the developer of PipeNet.
But you won't pay $17,000 if you rent it for like a month or 2 months.
There are different options, but
Be cheaper.
any project that involves surge analysis, it never gets completed into 1 month or 3 months. You need to have to go for a longer period license.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, you had some query?
Can you share any of the surge analysis report which you had done earlier, something like that?
No, I cannot because I signed NDA with my clients. But the structure would mostly remain the same. You got the introduction, this project objective, then document objective, then the design basis, process design basis, right? And different scenarios you would study, like the existing case, what exactly is happening. Then the remedy, you use the surgeon, say air relief valve. Then you try to run it again. Okay, so if there is any positive impact because of that you note it. But mostly that really doesn't help. But we need to create it as one of the scenarios. Then we can have the surge vessel or surge accumulator at different locations, and then again we run it, right? And then that's it. So that's what we do. And then conclusion. Finally, what exactly you recommend? So if you have any query, you have prepared any surge analysis report, so I can check it. But unfortunately, I cannot share my clients' files with anyone.